Welcome to Secured with Dr. KJ, the podcast where we break down cybersecurity, the technologies driving it, and the companies shaping our digital future. I'm your host, Dr. Kenneth Johnson, cybersecurity leader, technologist, and strategist. Cybersecurity isn't just an IT concern, it's a business imperative. Each episode, we'll explore key topics like cloud security, zero trust, AI-driven defense, and more. We'll assess how tech leaders are adapting, where they need to improve, and what it takes to stay ahead of evolving threats. This podcast features expert insights from security professionals, industry leaders, and technologists, offering real-world solutions to modern cybersecurity challenges. Whether you're a business leader, security expert, or just curious about how technology keeps us safe, this podcast is for you. Subscribe and join the conversation as we explore cybersecurity's biggest challenges, securing tomorrow one episode at a time. Today's guest is Matthew Waddell, a battle-tested cybersecurity leader with over 25 years of hands-on experience in incident response, digital forensics, and ransomware defense. From leading classified investigations for the U.S. government to building enterprise-grade security operations centers from scratch, Matthew has stood at the front lines of cyber warfare. One of his most intense roles, serving as the civilian subject matter expert embedded with special forces in Iraq and Afghanistan, where he conducted just-in-time digital forensics under combat conditions to uncover critical intelligence on terrorist networks. That kind of pressure forged a leader who's now known as the calm, logical voice in the chaos of a cybersecurity attack. Today, Matthew advises executives across industries, helping align security to business risk, elevate SOC performance, and fortify defenses against ransomware threats. He's also writing a must-read book for small businesses. It's titled Survive Ransomware, designed to guide organizations through the chaos of an actual attack. Matthew, welcome to the show.
All right. Thanks, KJ. So glad to be here.
Yes, let's jump right into that first question. So why are small businesses increasingly targeted by ransomware? And what are some of the most common weaknesses you see in their defense strategies?
Thanks. Great question. It's like I wasn't even prepared for that. Small businesses are increasingly targeted by ransomware because they present a lower risk target compared to larger organizations. It's the amount of ransomware out there is staggering, and we can't get a good metric on it. But the larger organizations have robust security systems. They're less vulnerable because they have incident response team, they have logging, they have all the protections in place, but the smaller businesses don't. Cybercrime prosecution has a fairly low success rate because it's inherently transnational. It's technically obscure as to what actual harm occurred. It's legally complex. The use of anonymization, proxies, hijacked infrastructure, it's very easy for threat actors to mask their identities. And even when they are identified, extradition is slow to nearly impossible, especially if it's an indifferent government or hostile country. They don't care what's happening as long as they're not attacking their internal structure. So digital attribution as a legal standard is very difficult to enforce, and many victims don't even bother reporting the incidents. So law enforcement agencies are under-resourced, lack the specialized cyber units, prioritize only the largest or most politically relevant cases, and building a prosecutable case requires the deep technical forensics, international cooperation, time, none of which those scale easily, especially if you're a small business. So while the larger businesses can prosecute the cybercrime, the smaller ones can't as easily. So because they lack the budget, the expertise, the time to handle a lengthy legal process, they may not even know how to collect evidence that would be admissible in court or who to report to. So I'm seeing a lot of the first line of defense being that the employees themselves at small companies don't understand what ransomware looks like at the very beginning. Like how do they recognize a simple phishing attack, and what do they do, or who do they report it to? Small businesses don't have that infrastructure or human knowledge to be able to understand what's going on. So I've been working in IR for 25 plus years. And I find that most of the investigations start when someone non-technical goes, that's odd. And then we proceed up from there, and it becomes a full-blown investigation.
No.
Ransomware, being as massive as it is, it's hitting large organizations equally as much as it's hitting small organizations. But the small organizations, they're using as like practice targets. They can play inside their infrastructure, and they know that they don't have the logs, they don't have the support, they don't have playbooks or anything to support them. So
right. No, that makes sense. And I remember doing phishing attacks when I was in the military. We would set up basically a honeypot or a website and send it out to certain organizations and see if people would click on said link, and then it just show like, hey, you actually didn't read this. If you would have read this email instead of just clicking the link, like, this is why now you need to go back through training to make sure that our systems can remain safe. And so I thought that was a really cool way to really just kind of highlight how easy it is to one, social engineer, but also even phish, right? And which could lead to that ransomware attack. So really, really cool insight there. And so I do got a follow-up question for you. So when I think about, you talked about budgets, right? And so how can small businesses really assess their security posture without a large budget?
It doesn't take a large budget to be secure. Most of the vendors out there, large companies, would love to sell you something so it looks like it does. But like basic information for the employees, just a group of people. When I think of small businesses, and I think that's classified up to 100 people, but I think of like 10 people standing around. They're all a little technical, but no one is an IT admin and such. But something as simple as running a tabletop internally, like just have a 1 hour meeting. What would we do if this happened? Because if you can think through that and come up with your answers and write them down, you can create a basic playbook when you're not under stress, when you're not making bad decisions because everything's on the line and nothing's working. That's the best time to create those playbooks, to play around with it and talk through your team, what they would do, who would they reach out to, what would you do if that resource wasn't available, and simply making connections with managed service providers. A lot of them will have $0 retainers, having that initial conversation so that when, like, imagine, we all know that we can dial 911 and we can get a fire department, but imagine if it was a different number for everything. Imagine that you had to find, go meet, talk to the team, the fire department, show them your house and such. And you can do all of that with a managed service provider. They would love to get to know your infrastructure because it's a footstep into potential sales and future sales.
Right.
So, getting that relationship, that conversation started when it's not an emergency, that doesn't cost any money. It's a relationship that you're building. Getting to know who your local FBI agent is that services your area. This is not someone that would be in the position for just a year or two. These are career professionals that will stay there for 10 to 20 years. And getting to know that person, take them out to lunch, get to know them so that you have that relationship. So if something happens, you have a hand that you can ask for. So
no, I love that. You gotta have a hand, gotta have some guidance there. And so when you think about all these ransomware strikes that are happening on small businesses, because they don't have that war room, and I think you also alluded to this a little bit as well, and they don't have that dedicated security team, what does a realistic, effective response plan look like for them? And how can they really prepare for the recovery before the attack happens?
It is that making a plan. It is having your team talk about what they would do. What would you do if our email went down and business relies on email? How would we reach out to our customers while we work to mitigate this? Do we have their phone numbers? Do we have this contact list outside of your Outlook calendar and such? What would you do? Talk through that, come up with the redundancy, and then implement that. It doesn't cost any money other than the time of your team working through that. Identifying what is most valuable for your company? What are your crown jewels?
Mm-hmm.
And then doing what you can to protect them. Creating an incident response plan is simply identifying what would happen, what could happen, statistically most likely event.
Right.
Who would be in charge for that? Probably shouldn't be the CEO. Right. For example, if your house is on fire, you don't want to be the lead firefighter. You want someone impartial coming to help that knows how to do it, because that's what they regularly do. Right. And not someone who's running around going, my family albums and
the
such.
Emotions,
you want someone who,
right? Yeah.
Right. You want that non-attachment, which is what the managed service providers can do. And I'm not a managed service provider. I've worked for them, but I recognize that that is a valuable resource. Working with your team to figure out how you could contain the situation. If ransomware started happening inside your organization, it is pull the plug. Don't turn the systems off. Pull the plug so that they can't talk out to the threat actor, so that you can work on fixing things. And no one likes ransomware when it happens. It is business full stop. So having those plans for how you would handle it so that you can get business back up. How do you communicate with the people in charge? How do you communicate internally? How do you communicate externally? How do you proceed with an investigation and restoration into that? So.
No, I love that. And I think you kind of said something, you didn't go deep into it, so I'm going to go deep into it for a second, is how important is it to have regular backups, right? And what's really kind of the right cadence and or testing for those? That
is absolutely one of my favorite things. My favorite part of backups is to follow the grandfather, father, son. You have backups that are done incrementally, full backups that are air gapped and offline, because almost every single instance of ransomware, they are looking for that backup because they want to take it offline, because ransomware is a business. And a lot of businesses, small businesses, legitimate businesses, don't realize that this is a criminal organization that is financially motivated. And if you are in business, no matter how small you are, that means there's money there. So small businesses, they have money just because they're in business and they're profitable. Ransomware is looking to make money, so they will look to be successful. They want all the effort that they put forth to be successful, which means if you have any backups that are connected to your network, they will take them out. They will destroy them or they will encrypt them. That is part of their MO. So the backups being air gapped with redundant backups, that means backups that are more than 90 days, because the ransomware dwell time will encrypt some of your backups. And then testing your backups. I was working a ransomware case and they thought they were fine. They had backups, but the backups themselves were self-encrypted and that they had done some compression algorithms, which meant that it was going to take weeks for that to decompress because they had never tested it to see. So their backups were essentially worthless. And then it ended up having to go different routes for remediation. So
I love it.
And backups aren't expensive. The most expensive part of a business is the data, your customer client lists, the processes of how you deliver what you deliver. All of that is valuable. A hard drive to run backups, multiple terabytes of hard drives, that's a drop in the bucket compared. So.
No, I agree. And you hit another thing that I'm about to go into. You talk about data. You got to have good data. You got to have clean data, to be able to recover and come back, right? But now I want to add a layer onto this, is like AI. So how is it really changing that ransomware landscape and for the attackers and the defenders, right? And can small businesses realistically leverage AI to level the playing field in their own backyards?
Yes. And AI is so hot right now. Gosh, everybody wants to add
That's
it.
a whole topic on its own, right?
Yeah. Like it's on my tablet. I don't want AI on my tablet, but it's everywhere. It is a two-sided coin. One, the attackers are using AI absolutely to create better phishing attacks. Those old phishing attacks where you could tell that it was written by someone who English wasn't a first language and had misspellings and such. we're seeing much less of those because the AI is delivering a very well crafted, perfectly copied from other versions of emails that traffic so that it looks legitimate. It is creating better malware through, people that can't code very well, that can test it and can create malware. So the threat actors are absolutely using AI on their side. However, AI on the defensive side is being built into all of the platforms. Everyone wants to say that they have AI on it. The EDR platforms have AI, which is great because it can go so much faster. They can analyze days and days and days worth of logs in just seconds, more than any human or any team of human could, and give you more relevant results. They can do predictive analysis based upon behavior. And that's really one of the differences between antivirus, which is signature-based, fingerprint-based. This fingerprint matches this malware, and EDR, which complements antivirus because it is behavior-based. Hey, why did this user decide to just suddenly change the file names across every file on their desktop? That's behavior-based typical for ransomware. All the documents now have changed from being docx to something else, something weird. That would be behavior-based. It can stop it right away. It can put firewall blocks in. It can log the user out. It can do a lot of things automated much faster than any team could. We're seeing ransomware deployments happen faster and faster and faster. It used to be, a week, and then it's gotten down to like 4 minutes. And I even saw something the other day where it was as short as 53 seconds from initial attack, compromise, to starting to encrypt the data. So they're getting faster by using AI. We have to use the same tool back at them. So.
Wow. So do you see this in the future then becoming like a virtual AI, becoming like a virtual SOC, right? For like these small
we already
businesses?
have them. There are some out there, and I won't name names, but I saw one today on LinkedIn, someone advertising like a virtual SOC that was all, you could play in it, you could test in it, and you could throw your data into it, and it would do behavior-based. Now, I feel a little weird about throwing my data in there. I'm a big privacy advocate, so I'm not giving AI as much. I'm very careful. It's like my LinkedIn profile. It's what I want them to see only. Exactly. Not all the back end stuff, not the communication with my wife and such. So
100%.
But these things are out there. And I think that we're in the very near future, we're going to see autonomous threat acting AIs behaving and autonomous blue team defending AIs fighting each other. And it's going to be entire battles that happen within seconds, so it is the future. If you follow the exponential, I can't get that word out there, the curve of how fast Moore's law of everything doubling in 16 months or 18 months, whatever it was.
Yeah.
We're definitely going up there.
It's going that way. And I love that. And so, Matthew, I would love for you to, give the audience some final thoughts that you have, and maybe even mention your upcoming book that's coming out. I would love to, let the folks know about that, because I think you have a good thing going on. And so if you don't mind, a few final thoughts here.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I've been in IR for 25 years. I absolutely love it. I've worked for governments. I've worked for 3-letter organizations, some of which I can't tell you. I've worked on the front lines of the U.S. military as a civilian subject matter expert. I see that there's definitely a need to help small businesses. They can't afford someone like me. So I'm writing a book. It's Survive Ransomware. That's the link. It's still in conception now. I need another 4 months before I'm finished with it. But the purpose of the book is to help essentially non-technical people walk through the details of what happened when a ransomware affected their environment and how they can begin to get a handle on investigation, containing, restoring it all as a not forensic practitioner, not a professional incident responder. It is the distilled knowledge, and I'm constantly trying to break out the crayons when I write this to get it as easy to read as possible. Now, mind you, that's a little bit like brain surgery for dummies. It's got to have some meat to it. But I'm taking a lot of liberties of going for the statistical most likely ransomware attack that they would be suffering, and then walk them through how they contain it, how they investigate it, how they recover it, what logs they could pull out, who they would need to ask for help and such, and kind of break it down for them. So that's one of my goals, and I don't even care if I make money on it. It's me giving back to doing something that I love doing. So.
No, I love it. And Matthew, truly appreciate you coming on and dropping your gems for the team here, and look forward to reading your book here in the future. And, we'll have you back on the show again so we can talk a little bit more about it. All right.
All right. When I get it, I'll send you a signed copy. So.
Hey, I appreciate that. All right. Thank you again.
Thanks.
What an incredible conversation with Matthew Waddell, a cybersecurity veteran with over 2 decades of experience defending against ransomware, building resilient systems, and leading under pressure. From advising U.S. Special Forces to writing a practical guide for small businesses, Matthew shared real-world strategies, honest perspectives, and forward-looking insights on how organizations, no matter the size, can better prepare for today's threat landscape. If you're a small business owner, IT lead, or just someone trying to better understand how to protect what matters most, this episode is your playbook. Be on the lookout for Matthew's upcoming book, Survive Ransomware, which will walk readers step by step through response and recovery with clarity and action. As always, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Secured with Dr. KJ. Securing tomorrow, one episode at a time.